Hey y'all, and welcome to the Sprinkle Factory YouTube channel where we cover everything culinary. Today we're going to be making Southern Smothered Oxtails and Grits. Let's get right into it. First, I'm going to start with our 2 pounds of oxtails. I had the butcher cut these about medium size, and we're going to season them with our Just a Sprinkle all-purpose seasoning. Of course, we use this for everything. We want to make sure we get a nice even coat on the oxtails, you guys, and for 2 pounds I'd say probably about 3 tablespoons should do you. Want to make sure that we mix these up and we get every single nook and cranny of the oxtails seasoned. So we're just going to massage it into all the cracks and crevices and get it nicely coated. Once we do this, we want to grab some flour. Now, when we sprinkle the flour over the oxtails, we're not looking to dredge the oxtails like we would do a chicken wing if we're frying chicken. We just basically want to give it a light coating. So this way, it'll add some flour to the pan and help us thicken our sauce. So once everything is massaged nicely into the oxtails, we want to go ahead and add our flour. And I would say about 3/4 a cup of flour is going to be perfect. So we shake the flour over the oxtails, and once we finish that, we're going to give it another massage. Just want to make sure each of your oxtails are evenly coated in the flour before we fry them. Once you toss everything around and coat it in the flour, they should look like this. Perfect. So previously I prepared my vegetables, you guys, and it's always best to prepare and prep your vegetables, and that is a French term called mise en place. So we're going to go ahead and get everything together. So we have a cup of the baby bell peppers. I use those because they're sweeter. A whole onion, a habanero pepper, guys, be very careful with that. 2 green onions, 2 tablespoons of garlic, and about 6 sprigs of thyme. So first, what we're going to do with the meat is we have heated up a cast iron skillet with about 5 tablespoons of vegetable oil. We've gotten that nice and hot, you guys, and we want to make sure that we place our oxtails in the pan. Now, we don't want to put them so close together because the technique that we're doing here is we are searing the oxtails. So that's going to mean cooking them at a really fast and high heat and making sure that we caramelize the outside of the oxtails, and what that does is that locks all of the juices in. So we're going to leave the oxtails on this side probably about 4 minutes, and then we're going to start turning. Make sure you have a nice caramelized brown color on your oxtails before you move them. Now, if you have to fry your oxtails in batches, that's totally okay. Trust me, the patience is going to be completely worth it. So we're just going to go ahead and continue to work our oxtails. Make sure we get everyone brown and turn them over. Please be very careful though, because for some reason these do pop. These do pop the grease a lot. So again, be very, 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 very careful. Once we've gotten all of our oxtails done, we're going to remove them from our skillet. We're going to set them aside, and we are going to start with our vegetables. At this point, every single vegetable that we have is going to be placed in the skillet at the same time. We want to make sure we maintain that high heat, and that's totally why I love cast iron skillets, because it definitely distributes the heat evenly. When you're adding these vegetables in, be very careful, because as you know, vegetables contain a lot of water, and we're putting them into a hot pan of oil. So just make sure you protect your eyes, you protect your lashes, and get everything in the pan together. Once we do this, and again, we're adding the onions, we're adding the sweet baby bell peppers, we're adding the thyme sprigs, in addition to the green onions and the garlic. Now we are going to go ahead and pop in the habanero pepper. It's something that I want to tell you guys about really quickly with the habanero pepper. This is super, super, super hot. One of the hottest peppers in the world. So we do not want to chop this up. We do not want to incorporate the seeds or the veins, anything like that. We're simply adding this to our recipe for the essence of the pepper flavor. Now please be very careful not to puncture it. Now we of course are going to continue to season our recipe in layers, and the only seasoning that you're going to need in this entire recipe is the Just a Sprinkle all-purpose seasoning. It's perfect for everything. Now we're going to make sure that we get the vegetables nice and tender, and they're going to release all of their flavors in the pan, and they're going to become one. So make sure, again, that habanero is in this flavor party, but we do not want to puncture it. So make sure you be very careful. Even if you do like spicy foods and you puncture this pepper, I still would not recommend it. Okay. So again, once everything comes together, and once you seasoned everything, and again, you're maintaining that high heat, we're going to add 1 beef bouillon cube. This is just going to add another depth of flavor and another layer of flavor. We want to make sure that we get that in there. We're going to break the bouillon cube up to make sure we get it nice and melted and incorporate it with the entire dish. Now, once you have that broken up, the next step that we're going to do is we are going to add the flour to the pan. So when it comes to thickening gravies and sauces, a more common term and technique used is creating a roux. So as you see, we have the residual oil in the pan, so we're going to add the flour to the pan. We're going to mix all of this together, and we are going to lightly cook it. Now, when we're cooking it, we're just cooking out the raw flour flavor. By doing so, we're replacing the raw flavor flour with more of a nutty undertone. So we want to make sure that we stir this. And what I'm going to do is actually remove the habanero pepper at this point, because we do have to stir this vigorously and we do not want to puncture it. And again, you guys, we are creating a roux. So we're going to cook this down for about 4 minutes. Make sure you continue to stir your pan though, because we don't want any of the roux to scorch. So you don't want any of it to burn. What that would produce is a bitter flavor, and it is definitely not tasty to the palate. So once we do this, you guys, you want to make sure that you grab your water. When you're making a sauce like this and using a roux base, you want to make sure that you start with hot water, because your gravy is not going to be at its full thickening potential until it reaches a full boil. So we're going to add our water in here. Again, make sure that the water is hot, you guys. You don't want to slow down your process. Adding cold water into a hot pan is literally going to probably double your wait time. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab some browning seasoning, and we're going to add that in there. What I didn't show you guys, for some reason the video skipped here, I also added Worcestershire sauce as well. Now, once we add the browning seasoning, and I put the measurements down at the bottom of the screen for you guys, as you see, it's going to bring in that nice, rich, deep color that we are all familiar with. Once we go ahead and get everything mixed up, and of course, you guys, this is literally the definition of a flavor party. This dish is so delicious, and it definitely starts with the base of the sauce. So make sure you, if anything, get that right, okay? So once we get everything mixed up, we want to go ahead and add back in the habanero pepper and allow our sauce to come to a boil. Now, you don't have to constantly stir the sauce, you guys, like you see me doing here. That is totally up to you. But I would say keep your eye on it. Don't just leave it unattended. Just make sure you continue to stir the sauce occasionally, so this way none of the flour or the roux is clumping up at the bottom. We want to make sure that we add our oxtails back to the sauce, and as you can see, guys, we got a nice boil going on this sauce. Now, once we add all of the oxtails back into the pan, there is several ways to cook oxtails. Oxtails are very, very tough as far as the cut of meat that they are. I want you to remember one thing. When it comes to the animals, as far as the meats that we are selecting, the parts of the animals that are used the most and develop the most muscle are going to be the toughest. The parts of the animals that are not used the most, and what I mean by that is as far as their everyday living, are going to be more tender. So oxtails do take a little bit of time. They do take a little bit of patience, but again, it is totally worth it. So what I'm using is a pressure cooker. Pressure cookers are perfect for oxtails, and I let mine go for about an hour. Now, if you don't have a pressure cooker, put it in an oven-safe pan, cover it tightly with aluminum foil, and I would put it on 350 for about 3 hours. The longer you cook it, there's no overcooking at this point. The longer you cook it, the more tender, the more it's going to actually fall off of the bone. Next thing that we're going to do, you guys, is I actually went ahead and sliced up a half of yellow onion into really, really thin strips, and we're going to work on the garnish element of our dish. Of course, we're going to season it. So we have about a half a cup of flour here, you guys, and we're going to put in about a teaspoon of the Just a Sprinkle all-purpose seasoning. After you've coated your onions in the buttermilk, you want to make sure that you dredge them in the flour. Get a nice coat on them, you guys, because these are going to be really crispy, and they're going to add another textural dynamic to the dish. So you just want to keep working on these until you got them all coated. And of course, I have my grandmother's Dutch oven on this stove with vegetable oil heated to about 350 degrees. These guys here, once you drop them in the oil, as long as your oil is hot, they really take next to no time. So they may take you about 4 to 5 minutes. Just keep an eye on them and get them nice and golden brown. So here comes the fun part, everyone's favorite, plating. I want you guys to go to check out the crispy grit video that we had, crispy shrimp and grit video. I'll go ahead and attach the link in the description below for the recipe for the grits, you guys. They are super simple. So when we grab our plate, we want to first start by plating the grits, and I'm going to sprinkle some American cheese on my grits as well. You guys, excuse me, not American, cheddar. You guys can pick whatever cheese you want, and I just popped this in the microwave for literally 30 seconds because I like my cheese melted. And we are going to start the plating process. I want to show you guys the oxtails. They literally are super tender. They're falling off the bone, and literally the flavor profile that we built on these things is probably penetrating throughout the entire bone. So you just want to go ahead and plate up your oxtails. Make it real pretty, you guys, depending on what you're serving. Even if you're serving family style, that would be really cool if you just made a big platter and just put all the grits and all the oxtails and let everybody go for it. This is just a simple serving, and we're going to plate the oxtails. Once we plate the oxtails in whatever arrangement you prefer, we're going to add more sauce because more sauce never hurt anybody. We're also going to next grab our crispy onions, and we're just going to plate these on top. It's best just to keep the crispy onions on top because you want them to maintain their crisp, so you don't want to put any sauce over them and lose that flavor. Once we place the crispy onions on top of the oxtails, I picked up some microgreens, you guys, from the local market. They're really cute, really simple, but they add an extra flair to the dish. And then of course we're just going to dress it up with our food glitter, which is the parsley, and dress it up for your Instagram photo. And just like that, you guys, you have made Southern smothered oxtails and grits. And like my grandma would say, of course, finger licking time. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. And if you make this dish, you guys, make sure you send it to me. I'm going to attach all of my social medias below. You guys can pick one, but I would love to see it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all next time.